Hey guys, this is Allison from AllyKatkreations. How are you? Working hard. So I'm gonna do a two-fold thing here. I was reading through the red book, the yellow book, and a lot of it is pretty much covered throughout the series. I'm gonna read a couple of things and then, because I have to revamp things, I'm going to go into the Law of One and what book one, just the book one, says about the Orion group Crusaders. I know I have touched upon it, but there are a lot new people that have subscribed. I don't know if I'm taking down those episodes that I've read from the book. A little, maybe. I don't know. But please like, please share, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. It helps me out big time because I made it into May. I made it, but there's only so much and so many things I can sell in my house to pay my bills because eventually that's going to go out the window. Okay, so if you have it within you to give me a love donation, I'd appreciate it. Anything helps, even if it's just like, even if it's a job, something, help. I need help. But I'm speaking that out into the universe so that it reaches somebody who could possibly help me. Here we go. The last of the yellow and red books. Just move things over. Okay, so we know the Greys come and visit here, right? We know that. And the Draco and other not so pretty groups. But there are other groups, other entities known to frequent this planet: blondes, Swedes, Nordics, people that look like me. Known by any of these names, similar to us, blonde hair, blue eyes, will not break law of non-interference to help us. Again, they're not specifying what races and where they come from. Would only intervene if the Greys' activity would affect other parts of the universe. Oh, and they have. Interdimensional. I get visited by these guys a lot. Entities that can assume a variety of shapes, basically of a peaceful nature. Short humanoids, 1.5 to 2.5 feet tall, skin bluish in color, seen quite frequently in Mexico near, let's just put it in Mexico. I'm not butchering names. I already have done that today. Hairy dwarfs. Hairy dwarves. 4 feet tall, weigh about 35 pounds. Hairy. Neutral, respect intelligent life. Very tall race. I know, you're all like, what the fuck? Look like us, but 7 to 8 feet tall, united with the Swedes. This, I'm okay, disclaimer here. I don't know what they were referencing to. Is it the Pleiades? Is it the Andromedans? Is it, like, I get it. The Nordics look and have a certain appeal to them. I get it, but they're not all from Pleiades. They're from a lot of different systems. Lyra, Sirius. And just to hold them Swedes, I don't get it, because no. So anybody who is Swedish, I myself have some Swedish in me. Don't take offense to this, because I don't know where they're referencing to. Whoever made this list. I don't get it. Nordic clones appear similar to us, but with a gray tinge to their skin. These are drones created by the Greys, childlike mentality. Those little deceivers. Men in black. Eyes sensitive to light, vertical pupils, often pale skin. Act outside of our social patterns. Black clothes, black cars, black shoes, black coats, black hat, yeah. The boys of Tom Bomb. Okay, guys, Rancid. In sunglasses. All dress alike. Time disoriented. They cannot handle psychological curveballs or interpretation to their plan or interruption to their plan. Often intimidated UFO witnesses and impersonate government officials, equivalent of R from an other galaxy. So this caught my eye, and this is why I wanted to read this off of the Red Book. There was a UFO contact from undersea by Sanchez and Stevens. It was a regression session. Filberto Cardenas is the person. And this happened in January 3rd, 1979. During the regression sessions, the following information came forth, and this is what I find very interesting. During the regression sessions, subject was taken to one of 3 pyramid bases. 2 pyramid bases are under the ocean. What are we talking about now with the arcs? 1 on land. Subject was taken to base between Bernin and Santiago off the coast of Chile. Another underwater base is in the Atlantic in an unspecified location, and I can bet you it's the Bermuda Triangle. The base was entered through an underwater tunnel. Oh, yeah, sorry, Terramar Project. Look that up if you don't know what that is. How did they get up into this island? You betcha. The aliens stated that they had been there for 36 months at the time. Here's my co-host. Aliens told the subject that there were 6 other individuals whom the aliens had contacted. Subject stated that the aliens voiced that they were eventually going to make themselves known to the world. We're still waiting. I mean, people who watch this already know, but I would like to know where they are. Say, Morgan, can you beam me up too? I want to be with my mommy and then become human so I can have a 3rd density hell. No, you're going to have peace and prosperity. Aliens stated that they control the Chinese. Well, makes sense. And they have provided the Chinese with a device that can paralyze cities and towns completely. That I ain't surprised. Finally. Love her to death, but oh my goodness. Aliens stated that the device will cause a change that is going to be something for which the world cannot wait. The Chinese are to provoke certain unspecified changes, and that in those changes, people who are negative will disappear. That wouldn't be so terrible. Subject remembers seeing future scenes of people running disoriented along roads and that there is a disaster coming. Yeeps. Details of underwater tunnel described as walls of firmed water, not rock. The ship eventually generated a force field which repelled the water around it. That's how they go in the water. Devices were supposedly installed in subject's head by aliens. Subsequent X-rays reveal nothing. It's not dimensional. Of this dimension, at least. Session 3. First contact with these groups of aliens began 4,000 years ago. I dispute that. And the reason why I dispute that, and not because this person's lying or anything, it just, I'm still in this paradigm right now, and I have my favorite Jason on the case, but there is a speculative that we really don't know what year we're in, because I don't believe it's 2022. By our fictitious calendars that tell you when the date is and the time, you know how many different cultures have different time frames? Well, then where do we lie in? Because no. And yes, in third density, we have concept of time. But again, it's man-made. I even said this as a little child looking at the cable box, like the cable box dictates what time it is no matter where you are in the world. That's control. But there's no time necessarily in other dimensions and densities. So really, how old is this civilization? How long have we been here? And 4,000 years in a snap doesn't sound like much. Doesn't. And no, I just don't buy that. But hey, maybe the gray group came here 4,000 years ago. I don't know. It has been thousands of years since this group last descended to Earth. If progress on Earth does not continue, aliens will use more forcible demonstrations to get their point across that we must have peace and process. Subject was interrogated for 15 days after the events by US security and intelligence services. Information from aliens had also to do with an atrocity in the plans certain forces on Earth had planned. Here we are. Here we are. Information of an atrocity. Oh, here we are. Subject was 7 years old when contact with aliens first occurred. Aliens have ability to dematerialize their craft. Yes, they do. They cloak them in the clouds. That's why I don't know, because I'm a weather weenie, and I literally been watching weather since I was a little kid. And they call those really humongous storms motherships, the clouds that look like motherships. Why do they call them motherships? How do we know they look like motherships? I'm on to you, meteorology. I'm on to you. Aliens stated that we should be aware of other alien groups who will present themselves in a good light. But if they pursue bad objectives against us, they could do two things. They could destroy this planet with the same arms that this planet has, Or the contrary, transport away all our arms in one operation, which would take no more than 20 minutes of our time. They can be visible or not, whatever they choose. Treaties reference 81 other crossbreeds from negative aliens who have performed duties on Earth. Half alien, half Earthling, crossbreed. Aliens spoke of great portions of land and whose cities that will disappear. Mexico City and major cities in California. Yeah, I mean, the rest of this is like stuff I went over. But I thought that was really interesting. Nonetheless. If we're looking at our time right now and we're trying to make sense out of what this group has done, they've infiltrated everything with help. It's not just a Greys, it's a reptilian Draco Seeker alliance. Now, what have you? Where are they? They're still around. I'm sure they're still around. But there's always a but, and it's a good but. I'm going to go over book 1, my insights of the Law of One, where it talks about the Orion Crusaders, because at the end of book 1, it's going to just tell you kind of how to like dispel these little shits. And again, going off the Law of One and other readings that I have done and other books that I have read, you have to raise your vibration. You can't be afraid of these things. Never be afraid. Stand in your sovereignty. I can't say it enough. There's so many people that are so fearful over this. I get it, but that's trauma you have to clear. You have to confront. My oracle readings are talking a lot about that. So go check my oracle readings out. Whatever resonates with you. Many of them are timeless, and it really doesn't matter if I put a stamp at the end. It's the messages that Spirit are trying to give. And right now, majority of all of the readings that I do, and again, I'm channeling Spirit when I'm doing these, is saying that people need to freaking start healing. You got to heal everything. And you need to forgive. Most of the time you made arrangements pre-incarnation to be taken by these things. You have the power now, standing in your sovereignty, to say, God, no, I don't consent. I don't consent. Go away. Whatever it is that works for you, okay? Because in all honesty, they're looking for the low vibing, fear mongering people and that harbor fear and that get scared very easily. And that's who they want. They want to control, and they want to put their negative agenda into these people so that they can spread service to self modalities. That's their mission. All right, so the Law of One, with my insights injected in my own words, the Orion group. So the first thing the topic I'll hit is Ra gives the example of Adolf from World War, which he refers to as the elite social memory complex with the capacity to enslave in groups of people. Now, there's some debate about this person from World War II. I've seen some documentaries. I have seen some evidence that pretty plausible and damning, and that's going to come out. Good Lion TV, very good. Watch it. Go look. There's a fee for some of the materials, but it's well worth it. I thankfully have an in, and I got to watch one of the this particular one, and yep, I don't know if this was the intention that was set forth, but we're going to read on anyway. There are very few third density groups. A larger portion is in fourth density. This is the negative. And comparative to fifth density is more or less the same number, very few are in sixth density of the Orion Crusaders. So the majority of these beings are in fourth density. The vast majority. They aren't really much in fifth and sixth because of their self-development in service to self to the one creator, which, if they do what they're doing, they lose their polarity. And they're not doing their service to self, and it kind of messes with them and their missions. So that's why fourth, third, and fourth, but not too many in third because they don't have the power. They'll have the same intuitive skills and powers that we have. Fourth, you have telepathy and some other fun factoids. Quote, the law of one blinks neither at the light nor the darkness. End quote. It's available for both service to others and service to self, which preserves the harmony, the distortions of the entities seeking intelligent infinity. So again, without the negative balancing the positive, you're not going to have the catalyst in your life to find and seek intelligent infinity, which is the one creator. You're not going to establish unconditional love. You're not going to be given the know-how to love and to forgive, because that's a part of our learning, and you have to have negative experiences in order for you to forgive. Those who are on the service to self route create the same power, but it's difficult for them because of the term concept of separation, because it causes power to dominate over others. This sums up the direction of the Orion group. The illusion of space-time, you see, it's an illusion, is a medium for development whose choices are made freely. All entities are able to learn what they seek out, and the speed of learning harbors no difference. So if you are a service to self, doesn't matter, because you're still servicing creator, as these little enslaving elite want. The Orion group landed here out of a conquest to enslave the what we call now elite, the non-elite. They use the elite, they help create the elite so that they influence these politicians, these stars, these these influencers, and they seed the law of one in a self service to self kind of way. And then the service to others gets punished. That would be you and me. Crusaders equals Orion group. They're so-called chariots to take over systems and its inhabitants before they reach a social memory complex. Nice try, Mr. Mrs. Orion group. You have failed. Guess what, Terrans? We are now just forming a social memory complex. Just now. A little late, but better late than never. That pass on to the inhabitants of a system the law of one in service to self for me format. The technology they have is for control and manipulation of the inhabitants to serve self. So this is what cats do. Like, they eat my homework. This one has been grumpy. And when I don't get to sleep and I go to sleep at 4 in the morning, sometimes 5, she has to wake me up by being destructive in making me wake up by noise. And eating paper is one of them. Nuclear weapons was orientated by both positive and negative service polarities. Yep. So you can have weapons that are used for the good, and you can have weapons used for bad. Mr. Nikola Tesla and Einstein and others who contributed to the nuclear fun, the free energy, and other creations of time travel and teleportation via the Philadelphia experiment, had good intentions, but were taken by the negative and used for evil. So Tesla got his knowledge with the help from the angelic realm, positive entities to better humanity, though his mission got distorted. To be free with no money constraints would lead those to find the law of one of sort. To serve self is to serve all. The chariot equal craft used by the Orion group. UFO appearance, they talk about the different shapes and sizes. So in book 1, they go over all the cigar shape, the cylinder shape, and some other shapes that they choose to use to come and show themselves. They couldn't have Tesla create free energy, even though it did exist in Tartaria, okay, the mud flood era. They couldn't have that. Why? Because, oh, we have to be enslaved. We have to be enslaved in the debt system. We have to pay for everything. And if you don't have it, you lack it, you don't get it. Our planet is in quarantine. But Windows in the multiverse was breached by these guys, and here they are today. But I also think it's in the design of how our third density was formed, because again, you have to have negative and positive polarities balanced. The problem with this is that it's an outside interference that distorted our events in life. Whether that was a part of the plan of God or not, it infringed on our will because the elite made contacts and treaties and other things that no one voted on as a free society. We didn't know that these things were going on, so hence our free will was infringed because a few dictated to the rest. And that's how we are in the hell of life that we are in today, because they took these elites, and without our knowing who these elites were, we allowed them to seep in society, to infiltrate everything, and here we are. The Orion group attempts to contact the service to self-elite of our planet in hopes to work with them, and they have. Big time. Big time. In exchange for human souls, human body experiments, animal experiments, and control. There's a lot of censoring going on YouTube. So I would have played a few videos from Telegram with morphing and crazy shit. But if you're on Telegram, go to my Telegram page. The links are below. And see some of them. You have to scroll a lot, but you'll find them. Of morphing, shape-shifting, pictures of these infiltrators. Yeah, I'm trying to keep my channel up, guys. And if you watch me on the other platform, I'll make a separate video. Maybe. Maybe. These Orion groups come in two forms, robot thought forms. We see them. So the robot, the clone, the drone, they exist. And then thought forms are like poltergeist kind of things. You could see them, but they're not really there, but they're there. They can materialize, dematerialize. They talk about the men in black are just thought forms, but like, they can dematerialize and materialize. It's how they just show up, which I agree with that to an extent, but not, because I don't know. I don't like it. I don't get it. I don't like it. So the questioner asked about our favorite Adolf again and what happened. And upon his passing, he was confused and needed a lot of healing. He didn't die when everybody expected him to. He died in a car crash in Argentina in 1957. If I have to delete my other video, which I forgot which one this appears in, but I wanted to put this one in. Fourth density negative souls. Okay. Taurus Bulba, Genghis Khan, and Rasputin appear to be in the service to self categories of people who have actually graduated to fourth density negative. Only 3 graduated from Earth to fourth density. 1 is in Cassiopeia, 1 the Southern Cross, and 1 the Orion group. Genghis Khan is with the Orion group and is a shipping clerk and is an entity and serves creator. So just note that all the evil people that inhabited time space in our third density, only 3 graduated to 4th density in service to negative self. That says a lot. So if you're one of those people out there that think you're a service to self, I bet you're going to get graduated into the other half. If you're moving on to 4, you really, really have to be an evil person to be graduated into 4th density negative. This I find very interesting. The Orion group obeys free will when it comes to the law of one, though they're a service to self. Which, if you stand in your sovereignty and tell them that you didn't consent in this physical body, in this vehicle, can't touch you. They have to obey that. So if you feel like you're the one being abducted by these little shits, before you even go to sleep, say it out loud. I do not consent to being taken, to being looked at, infiltrated in any way, shape, or form. Okay, if you have been abducted. And again, not all abductees are of like a negative vibe, or people do invite these things in unknowingly. You work a Ouija board, they go up and they're like, we want a UFO to come and see me. And they're not realizing that they're calling upon the negative entities. Because it's innocence. You're curious. And a lot of people don't know about the expansiveness of who's good, who's bad. And most of these guys come and look good. They appear to be good people. They come with good intentions, supposedly, but we get deceived. And I've talked about that a lot in the other videos. They infiltrate service to others, be guise of infinite intelligence, and the person is in a balance or grounded. They pass on the service to self modalities to these beings. So just raise your vibes. And they can't give you service to self nonsense. Nikola Tesla has inventions, and they were taken by the service to self group because his work would have freed man of many enslavements. Back in the early UFO sightings, it was largely Orion craft. So like the 1970s, even the 40s, 50s, 60s, all Orion, supposedly. Again, we have the EBEs. We don't know what goes on with that, and, but many of what we saw was them. The talk about black magic, the Orion group then manipulates through telethought and deceives the channel. And I'm going to go back to the Red Book after I finish this to read something very interesting. But I wanted to mention this first because it feeds into that. The structures in place around the world, like the Easter Island, were telethought and helped made the Orion group or made it into negative. So there's a lot of ley lines and points and things that lay on those points that these beings put the negative energy into to distort them and to distort the power that they give. And not all of these ruins and these sculptures and these places that tourists go to are negative or had negative intentions. And till these guys came in and infiltrated it. As our harvest comes, the powers of us awakening and becoming beacons of light has an effect on the Orion group. They lose the power to have control and will leave. This is true. They can't stand the love you emote. So be loving. The Orion group chooses weaker-minded, low-vibrational beings to scare, to enslave, and control. Hence why their UFOs appears to specific people. And they talk about the Close Encounters movie a lot. But I already tackled the Close Encounters and some of the movies in depth. But that's just book 1 of the Law of One. There are 4 other books that cover that. So I'm going to do a series on my insights, reading from the Law of One on each of the rest of the remaining episodes of the Gray Agenda. I'm going to go back to the Red Book, the Yellow Book, Red Book, Yellow Book, Red Book. If it were all understood too soon, we might crumble under the weight of the truth. This earth is covered with windows into those other unseen worlds. If we had the instruments to detect them, we would find that these windows are the focal points for super high frequency waves, the rays of ancient lore. And the Law of One discusses how the Crusaders entered through these windows to be here. Those rays might come from Orion or the Pleiades, as the ancients claimed, or they might be a part of a great force that emanates throughout the universe. The UFOs have given us the evidence that each ray exists. Now, slowly, we are being told why. It is apparent that some entities having a good laugh at our expense. I wouldn't doubt it. As mentioned before, literature indicates that the phenomenon carefully cultivated the religious fame of reference to early times, just as the modern manifestations have carefully supported the extraterrestrial frame of reference. The devil's emissaries of yesteryear have been replaced by the mysterious men in black. A major but little explored aspect of the UFO phenomenon is therefore theological and philosophical rather than purely scientific. The UFO problem can never be untangled by physicists and scientists unless they are men who also are schooled in other disciplines. The earth was occupied before man arrived or was created. That's an important point to consider. The original occupants were paraphysical and possessed the power of transmutation of matter. Man was the interloper. The inevitable conflict arose between physical man and the paraphysical owners of the planet. Man accepted the interpretation that this conflict raged between his creator and the devil. The religious viewpoint has always been that the devil has been attacking man, trying to get rid of him by causing havoc upon him. There is historical and modern proof that this may be so. It is interesting that parapsychologists have long concluded that the paralysis that contactees experience is a contributing cause, that the entity may materialize by utilizing energy from the participant himself. John Keel has in his files hundreds of cases, some of which have been investigated by qualified psychiatrists, in which young men and women obsessed with UFO phenomenon have suffered frightening visits from apparitions followed by mysterious black Cadillacs, which appeared and disappeared suddenly, and have been terrified into upping their pursuit on the UFOs. The phenomenon is again reflective in nature. The more frightened the victim becomes, the more the manifestations are escalated. Think about it. When you stand in your power, it can't happen. You're allowing it to happen. You're allowing this to manifest. There is a balance in nature, and there also seems to be a balance in the UFO picture. People have actually died after exposure to the gamma and UV rays from UFOs, but other people have actually had their ailments cured by similar rays. Occult literature is filled with the accounts of this type, except for those who might be especially constructed for incubus succubus activities. It does appear that our angels and spacemen come from a world, in many cases with sex, and very probably a world without an organized society, a world in which each individual is merely a unit in the whole and is totally controlled by the collective intelligence or energy mass of that whole. In other words, these beings, or some of them anyway, have no free will. They are slaves of a high order, and that a lot of them are. Often they try to convey this to participants with their statements. We are one, we are in bondage. Most of the smaller gray races are enslaved. We face a great task in trying to isolate the UFO phenomenon for the larger and more important big picture, the overall situation of which the UFOs are merely a small part. Elemental beings are another aspect of the world we live in. Children see them more than adults, perhaps for the reasons described before. Historical records certainly indicate that little people have always existed all over the planet. They possess the power of flight, the power of invisibility, and to varying degrees, the power to dominate and control the human mind. Accounts of little humanoids with supernatural powers can be found in almost every culture. The manifestations have remained the same throughout history. Only our interpretations of those events have changed. It brought the birth of spiritualism, which was in its heyday in the 1850s and 1860s, and was just another form of communication between the ultra-terrestrials and ourselves. UFO flaps also parallel outbreaks of poltergeist cases. It all ties in together, assuming that each discovered historical report represents a large number of unpublished or undiscovered reports, just as today's UFO reports represents, on average, 250 unreported or unpublished sightings, can conclude that a flap condition exists. For example, in the years 1820, 1834, 1844, 1846, and 1849, we also find that there was an outbreak of poltergeist in 1835, 1846, and 1849. As the 19th century progressed, reporting improved, and we are able to make more precise correlations. A UFO flap took place in 1850, and there was also a series of poltergeist cases. A larger poltergeist outbreak occurred in 1867. Ghostbusters! Do-do-do-do-do-do. I mean, guys, that's what it's talking about. There's something strange in the neighborhood. Who are you gonna call? Note that if you ever do go to New York, you can see the firehouse that they filmed, because the Ghostbusters sign is alive and active on that building. It's very cool, mind you. I'm going to skip a tiny bit. The trance phenomenon deserves extensive study because so many aspects of it are directly related to the contactee phenomenon. In both, you will find the same contradictions. There seems to be both good and evil forces at work. The good guys latch onto people with particularly receptive minds and turn them into trance mediums, and the bad guys use the same methods to tamper with the minds of contactees, even to commit murder indirectly. Since incidents of these types can be traced throughout history, it seems probably that these forces have always been here on this planet. Do the ultra-terrestrials really care about us? There is much evidence to suggest that they don't. They care only to the extent that we can fulfill our enigmatic use to them. There have been innumerable psychic hoaxes for the past 150 years, and many of these parallel the UFO hoaxes. In ufology, we have to contend with the teenager's hot air balloon. And in psychic phenomena, we have to worry about youngsters firing rockets at houses. There are, however, more UFO sightings than there are plastic balloons, and more poltergeists dumping rocks in living rooms than there are wild-eyed youngsters with slingshots. There are also more ultra-terrestrial entities than ever, and either the occultists or the UFO researchers can dream of. So you can bridge a lot of that together. I've had a lot of not necessarily poltergeist activity, because that can also come from your mind. You can actually form a PK manifestation from your negative energy and the trauma and stress that you go through. The energy that you build up can actually detach from you and create a thought form that wreaks havoc in the house. Watch Dead Files, Amy Allen. She's a physical medium, and she talks about PK manifestations a lot in a lot of those episodes. If you have cable and watch that show, love that show. Although I don't watch television anymore. For myself, I know as a child, I used to see a lot of stuff, and I still do. I mean, the other day, kitty cats, I have a humongous migraine. I'm out. My head is killing me. It's pounding. I'm drinking water. I'm just laying down. Ethan's on my lap. Morgan's next to me sleeping. And I have some, binaural beats going on, just zoning out, trying to sleep, trying to take a nap, and pressure points and all kinds of nonsense. And there was a crash in my bathroom. Somehow my clothes hamper flipped over and everything spilled down onto the floor. I am by myself. The kitty cats, even if they wanted to, probably couldn't crash that over, because A, it's tall, it was loaded with clothes. And they only go in there to do their business and they leave. They don't really go and tinker in the bathroom. So what the hell was that? I don't know. I said hello. I took my sage. My black salt mix, I make myself. I infuse it with other things. And went all about the house. Was it a UFO? Was it in my interdimensional being saying, hi, I'm here? Because I do have them. They do come and say hi. They visit me. They inspect me. I don't know what else. I haven't been able to get to the medium, but here I am with clothes on the floor scattered about. Don't know how that happened. Something was trying to get my attention, most likely. I wished it well. I visualized a vortex of light taking the entity up. I did some praying. I praying. I called my angels. I called my team. I said, get this out of my house if it's of a negative nature. And then everything calmed down. And then eventually my migraine turned into a headache. And then the weather's kind of junky, so I just slept. My day was sucky yesterday. And that was probably me getting downloads. So there's a benefit to this ascension symptom stuff. But I wanted to do a larger Law of One, and I will. But I wanted to, that was always the plan, is to go over what the Law of One talks about with the Orion group and their infiltration, them getting through the windows and coming here. But it's also a part of the design of their density, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of this and all of this has happened to wake us up. We are sleeping. They helped made that creation of all of us asleep so that we wouldn't be aware that we were really being enslaved and conquered. But this Great Awakening has awoken a lot of people up to their agenda. How long have they been here? Again, in the Red Book, it says 4,000 years more, that we weren't the original people of Earth. Earth has been sought out by many densities, first and second density. You know, we have the air, we have the plants, we have the animals, we have the trees. And then I bet you they came here and started just upchucking everything and becoming forms. And then, you know, we also have inner Earth. No one really knows too. I mean, there is a lot of books on it, but I mean, no one knows for sure what goes on, how long that civilization's been there. And are those creatures, the ultra terrestrials, are they the ones that went underground and here, let the humans have up top? And then if we are flat earthers, are these entities coming from beyond the ice wall, like the Game of Thrones theory that I'm still I'm gonna tackle that, guys. Having to revamp my page and revamp the videos to make it so that I don't get copywritten strikes because I read a little too much from one author. It is what it is. Again, I'm not here to disrespect any author or anybody's books. I just want to spread the knowledge, and sometimes doing it from the mouth of the actual entity talking is better than me interpreting their words. It loses its meanings. So I'm trying very hard to keep everything within a reasonable grasp of knowledge. But the gray agenda is a big one, and it's one that traverses a long time. And we're only going to find out more and more once more disclosure comes out. And a lot of things are starting to happen around the planet. The arcs, the more than one, are starting to awaken. There are portals. There are people now talking about what they are doing with these arcs. More people are coming out about the tablets, the Sphinx, the pyramids, the people. More and more of all of this is coming out, and it's just to show how falsified history has been, and all the missing links that all of us are seeking are coming out. But it's up to us to resonate with it and to piece these puzzle pieces together for our own selves. No one, I don't think anyone has it correct. There are people who are very close, but again, it's all perspective. All perspective. But these service to self entities, they exist on fourth. So buckle up, everybody, during the ascension. I'm sure that we're going to be on the fourth density positive timeline, that we are not caught on the negative timeline, that these things can't really do anything to us, but they all dwell in fourth. So I'm hoping that the wars going on upstairs that continue to go on upstairs do us a favor, that we don't have to ascend and have these wars and then face to face these guys that are highly more on a we're going to be on the sub octave of 4 going to 4. So we're in the early stages of 4, and these guys already traversed 4 and are ready to go to 5. So they're already way more advanced than us. We're just on our training wheels right now, learning about what 4 density is like. We're still here in a sub octave of 4. Some of us the sub, some of us the sub. We're not in 4 yet. We might be, but we're still hovering in and out of 3rd. We're not there yet as a social memory complex. So leap forward. The leap forward, I don't think, is coming for a year or 2. And I feel like that is because the beings that are helping us upstairs are making sure that our transition, our harvest, whatever you want to call it, is not going to be impeded by these things. That they're going to get the max amount of people to be harvested, ascended, graduated, quantum leap forward, whatever you want to call it, all the same thing. That we're not going to have infringement in our consciousness. That we'll be freely able to go, and then we'll start our quest in 4th density and be given more challenges and more learning and more love, more light, more understanding, and until we go up to the love and wisdom of 5th density. So I wanted to just do this episode on the book 1 of the Law of One, and to kind of go into the red book and the yellow book a little bit. I covered a lot with those 2 without overkilling it, because a lot of stuff, we don't need too much information on because it doesn't apply. And then I will do eventually an episode on the good beings helping us from my perspective, because I think I think for us to identify the good species and the good races that we can distinguish, and even if something like kind of masks itself, like, so it's a service to self entity that's hiding in a good person body, we'll be able to vibrationally figure out right away what they are, even if they're trying to be deceitful and mask themselves and hide themselves in another form. Because that's usually how it comes. As many people have listened to some of the channeling work that's been out there, and not to discredit anybody's channelings, but sometimes you just resonate and sometimes you don't. And it's up to you to decide what information is correct and what is not. And again, if they're going off the satanic agenda, their karma and the way they roll is they have to tell you the truth. They have to tell you. That is why I read the books that I do, because I feel the Gnostic books, the esoteric books, the ones that you think, even if they're channeled by earthlings or whatever have you, they still have to tell you the truth. So they're not distorting their information. They're just disseminating it through a bunch of lies. So like a lot of people argue with why am I reading the Urantia book? because it was the negative entities, or, you know, disincarnated earthlings, whatever have you. Because if it's a service to self, they have to tell you the truth, and it's too detailed. There's a lot of truth there. There's a lot of things that I don't resonate with that book. I don't think it's the end all be all, but it does coincide with the Keys of Enoch and the Book of Enoch. It does. The governmental structures of heaven or paradise or the many mansions of the Father, it all talks about that, different wording, but the Keys of Enoch and the Urantia book go into that, and Awaspe does too. So this is why I read all the books, because in some books, even if they were infiltrated, truth is in there. It's just, what is the truth? But they have to tell you. So even in the Bible, there's truth to it. Even in all the other books, there's truth. Yes, it's infiltrated and you don't know what to disseminate out of it or not. But those books that everybody poo-poos off and away, the Hermetic books, all the illuminated books, okay? Guess what? They know the secrets that we don't, and they utilize those secrets to their advantage. Now, ask yourself, why aren't you reading those books? Because you should be doing the same thing. Taking what's in there and applying it to your own moral self. It's all about you. This is the individual self-awareness, third density, that you still need to achieve and graduate to fourth. You have to be aware of everything. So take from what books resonate with you. Understand what they have done by infiltrating everything, that they have to tell you the truth. If they're satanic, they have to tell you. That's within their karma. That's their laws, not ours, but theirs. So ask yourself then, why aren't we reading their books? Because the components of the universe is probably in those books. Is it all true? No. But they have to tell you something truth. So take that as it is. Be open-minded. Stand in your sovereignty. I'm no one's creators. Get out. And that's all you need to say. That's all you need to do. So I'm going to leave it with that. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of The Gray Agenda, Law of One, Book 1, finishing up the red book, yellow book. And next time, hopefully it won't be that long of a wait. I am apologetic to that. When stuff happened with my channel, I had to put a couple of things on the back burner. Not happy about it, but I don't want to get yelled at or in trouble, and I want my information to stay up. So I have to revamp and I have to revise a couple of things, and it's been taking me a little bit longer, but I'm going to get there. And I kind of ignored the gray agenda. So I wanted to come back to it today, but revamping the things that I have said. And I hope each and every one of you have a wonderful week. Sending everybody love and light. If you have it within you to help me, that'd be super appreciated from the bottom of my heart. Anything helps. Spread the word. Word's the bird. Look up in this night sky. They're there. The good guys. Resonate with what you resonate with. Don't live in fear anymore. Stop feeding them that's now below us the loosh. Don't do it. And we're going to be okay, guys. We're going to be okay. But we have to unite together. Space Force. Space Force. See you on the next one, guys.